Pop's Pepper Patch. I've posted about these in the past, and they very graciously sent me a whole box of them.
Love it.
These pickles are so good.
Are they spicy, a dill, a garlic?
Yes. They're habanero pickles, which means habanero, garlic, and dill.
You just hit all the notes I just asked on one shot. Hey everybody, good afternoon. It is Michael Beck with ChatGTM reporting live today, and I would call it a guest, but I don't think, Bill, you're a guest today. Let's say it this way. My co-host today is the one and only Mr. Bill Oakley. We know him from some things, but what I really want to talk about is this thing called Steamed Hams. He's got a road show, and he can talk a lot more about that than I ever could. But Bill, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today, and stepping away from whatever is the awesome things that you're doing, people you're meeting, food you should be digesting. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. I know I see you pretty frequently on the other show, but it's exciting to be here and do a deep dive.
Yeah, if we keep running into each other like this, people are going to start talking, as they say, right? So, but hey, I mean, so for the people that don't know Bill, I won't spend much time on this because that's what IMDb is for. That is what the World Wide Interweb is for. But, you know, I just said this to Bill before we got on the call, the meeting. Pod, God, I remember what I'm doing here. On the pod is that, you know, Bill worked with a little show called The Simpsons for a while. He wrote some really great stuff. And why I was so excited to talk to him in the first place is I'm 54 years old. And a lot of what you wrote is about, I think you wrote most of my script for me growing up, and the words I would be saying to people, like just so many great one-liners and stuff. So for the people that don't know him, he was a showrunner for The Simpsons and some other great animated series that were products of Matt Groening. But Bill is doing some really cool stuff today, and the things I really would like to talk about, I think the world should know about, is, you know, Bill is an accomplished author. He's wrote a series called Space 1969. Is that right? Did I make sure I don't screw that up, right?
Yes.
And then also has a sequel.
That's right.
Yeah, and what's that one?
That's Space 1972, and that is going into production this week, as a matter of fact. It took me 2.5 years to write the script, 683 pages, entirely written by me, 10 episodes, and we are starting, it's a sequel to that, and it will be on Audible, hopefully by this fall or winter.
Okay, so let me unpack that. You said, so I thought it was a book, and then you said 10 episodes. So it's episodic, and is this episode?
Yeah, it is. It is not a book. It is it's called an audio book. Okay. This is the thing, is there's not a, I don't know why there isn't a word for this.
Okay.
Audible. Okay. I've had this idea, just to get a step back. I have this idea for a long time, and it's the nature of the idea is it's an alternate American history where John F. Kennedy did not die from his wounds, but instead went into a coma and woke up realizing we should get out of Vietnam and start colonizing space as soon as possible. When the series begins, it's the day of his third inauguration, January 20th, 1969. America at that point has an orbiting space station and is going to be opening a moon colony soon. The star of the show is Natasha Lyonne, who plays a nurse, a lowly night nurse on the space station, who gets drawn into a large sort of a dramatic conspiracy. And the whole thing is, it's a funny show. I know it sounds dramatic, but it's actually rather funny. The alternate history of 1969 is very interesting, but it's loaded with references to stuff from that era that people will know. You don't have to know stuff from that era.
Right.
I was only 3 years old in that era, but there's a lot of interesting pop culture stuff in there as well, and there's an interesting story. And as I said, it became a surprise bestseller on Audible, and they ordered a sequel, which is called Space 1972. Spent the last 2.5 years writing it, and we're starting to produce it literally this week. And that takes place a few years later. Things have changed. I'm not going to spoil any of it. No. Same cast, and it will be coming out this fall. So that is what I do as a writer.
Yeah.
And the reason is it's hard to describe it because Audible is mainly known for what you would call an audio book.
Right.
Like people want to listen to Harry Potter in their car or whatever, and it's someone reading a book.
Yeah.
But Audible also does a few things that are called Audible Originals every year, which are things that are not that weren't books first, that you can only hear on Audible. Some of them are prose or people
Yeah.
reading prose. Mine is like a radio show. It's basically like a lot of people have compared it to Futurama, but in the past. And
So is this like 1930s? I'm in front of the radio with my family.
yeah,
I'm listening
yeah.
to the
It's
what
an
are they called?
audio
Serials?
drama.
Right? They're
An
serials.
audio, yeah, it's exactly
Yeah.
like that. It's basically like it's kind of like watching Futurama with and just listening to the audio. But we have this, it's the description, so you know what's going on.
Yeah.
And because they don't have Audible has two things: audiobooks and podcasts. And literally up to the night before this thing was released, they were just trying to decide which one it would be called, and it's not really either.
And so when you're making these, right? Like when I'm reading a book, I don't know about you, and maybe this is just my crazy brain. I see my characters in my head. I hear their voices very clearly, very clearly. Like I know, like, and typically when I go, that wasn't them when I see them. So when you're doing the casting, do you have part of that casting, like who the voice actors are going to be?
Oh yeah,
and
I have
are you
all the
making
voices in my
cameos?
head I see the scenes in my head, and I have
Yeah.
all the voices in my head, so I know who it's supposed to be. And in fact, this character was written specifically for Natasha Lyonne, and thank God we actually ended up getting her.
Wow.
But there's dozens of other characters, and sometimes it's like I wrote this for a movie star who's been dead for 30 years, but then we find somebody who does a great impression of that movie star,
right.
and so forth. And then also, Nixon is a major both Nixon and John F. Kennedy are major
wow.
characters in this as well. And we have literally I think the best guy on earth for Nixon, as well as
Is the
a
same
lot
guy
of
that
other
voiced
voices.
it for you in the other shows? Like
Yes.
you had a great guy in Futurama.
Oh, no, that's Maurice LaMarche. No, this is a
Okay,
different guy
okay.
who I wouldn't necessarily say he was. I think he's better. He sounds more realistic
Yeah.
as Nixon, and his acting is amazing. So, especially if you've heard this, you will know what I'm talking about. And all the characters you loved in the first ones will come back. And it's also, by the way, you don't have to be a member of Audible to buy it. You can also just buy it and download it. In fact, even if you're a primitive person without digitals, you could buy it on a digital. You could buy it on a CD from Amazon. So you can listen to it in any format you want. It takes probably about 6.5 hours to listen to the whole thing, but it's 10 episodes broken up into 35-minute episodes.
So what inspired you to do it? Like everybody has a book in them, they think, right? And as a writer, it is probably a little easier because you found the tools to get what's in your brain onto digital paper or whatever you want to call it. But why this book?
Well, this was a rare project that was like, I knew this project would never be a TV show because it would be so expensive. Because it would be even if it was animated, it's triple niche. That's the problem with TV is a very annoying business, and I can get into that further. I can get into the television is about getting the largest audience possible.
Yes.
It's not about serving small audiences really well. It's about, and so a niche. It's a triple niche, and I'll tell you what that means.
Yeah.
It's a comedy. It's a period
Sci-fi.
piece.
Yeah.
It's a period piece. That's the second other niche, and it's a science fiction period piece. So that's three niches, and every
like
TV place.
Inception
I
of
actually pitched it
niches.
to a few. That's what they call them. I pitched it to a number of TV places who were like, "This is really funny, but we could never make it because it would also be really expensive, and nobody wants to spend that much money on a triple niche project." But in Audible, you don't have to. You don't have to have any actual sets. You don't have to have animators animating it or anything like that. It's all it's the theater of the mind, as they used to say it in the radio days, and it worked perfectly in that format. I'm so happy to have this job working for Audible for the past 4 or 5 years now, and not having to work in TV, which has just been collapsing like newspapers. It's like newspapers in like 2005.
Yeah.
That's what's happening to TV, and I'm blessed to be able to work in a different medium.
Is it because you have more control of your own voice, or is it because of
Yes.
how the mediums?
Well, that's
played out?
also, I mean,
Yeah.
one thing is I don't have to go out and try to sell this.
Yeah.
It's already sold. That's the thing. And also Audible, God bless them, have let me do pretty much whatever I want. And so that's you don't get that in TV. And they've been very supportive since day one. And so I don't have to I sit in my house and I make up this crazy thing and work on it for several hours a day for years, and then we make it. And that's a very privileged position to be in.
So, entertain me or indulge me here for a second, Bill. Like, let's go back in the Wayback Machine. Let's hop in with Sherman and Peabody, and pull the lever. So in school, where did you grow up? What part of the country did you grow up in?
I grew up in Maryland and D.C.
Okay, and there's something that came out of this wonderfully, I won't say abnormal brain, but all of a sudden I got young Frankenstein in my head, but you're wired in a really cool way, right? And what are some of these influences that, like, where'd you come from? I'm not saying like your people, but you drew from certain elements that became part of your persona, how you write. Like, where'd you draw from?
Yes, this is an well, if you were making a movie about me, my formative years were spent growing up mostly alone. We lived on a farm out in rural Maryland, and it was 60 miles away from the nearest big city, right? And this was in the 1970s too, so it wasn't like there was not any, there was.
I grew up on a farm too. Keep going, Bill.
Obviously there's no internet. There wasn't even cable TV. There wasn't video games. There was nothing. And TV, you had 3 channels of TV.
Yep.
And they had, and cartoons on Saturday morning. But other than that, there wasn't TV for kids. There was no Nickelodeon. There was no nothing.
Yeah.
So I spent my time reading Mad Magazine. My brother, who had gone to college, left the entire attic filled with 150 Mad magazines from the 60s.
I have all the omnibuses over here behind me.
So that's what happened. I spent all my time reading Mad Magazine, mainly from the 60s.
Yeah.
And it became a very formative experience until I finally moved to DC when I was 10. Now, also, I'm sure we'll get into this later, my food thing is also sprung from that too. Because back in that day, McDonald's advertised on TV to kids all the time with McDonald Land and the Grimace and all that stuff, right? But there was no McDonald's anywhere near me. The nearest one was 60 miles away, and I get to go on my birthday to Baltimore or whatever, or DC for one time a year. So I continuously fantasized about getting to fast food, going to McDonald's, which is why I am the way I am today, and this whole food thing sprung from that. So those are my the two origin stories of my various careers.
I think it's funny. So I also lived on a farm, North Idaho. Closest neighbor was several miles away, right? And
I'm surprised you even had TV.
Well, we had 2. We had Spokane Creme 2 News, and then some that came in from somewhere else. And I was the remote control. I'd be upstairs. They call me down, turn the channel, go back upstairs, right? But the thing the moment you said I grew up on a farm, I already had an idea, because my best friend at the time was a black cassette recorder. Hit record. I do radio plays. I do Jimmy and Johnny in the Forest, and I do the Wolves and all this stuff. But you do things to entertain your family because there just wasn't anything to do.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think, and I'm going to pivot there, like 2 guys like us that did this, and now we see the world with complete obscene amounts of stimulation and things to look at, draw from, and get to. Right. Do you think, in your opinion, how's the creative process now with an abundance of input versus the absence of, to not iterate but create? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's different. I mean, obviously, different people have different skill sets.
Yeah.
For me, I think that I would just say personally, I think it's very hard to create in a tornado of other stuff going on. You have to drown it all out, which is why every time I have to write, I have to turn off. I have a ritual, and it's mainly adapted from Stephen King's book on writing, which is the best book on writing there is. Where it's like you can't go to the coffee shop and write. It's not going to work. You got to have a boring room with nothing, and you got to sit down. You got to turn off the internet, and you got to sit down. And it's going to be for every day. It's going to be like diving into a cold pool, until you get used to it every day. But the only solution to that is if you do it every day, it's not so bad. And that's what Stephen King does, and that's how he generates all that stuff. And so when I write like these things, fortunately, writing for Audible is more fun than I don't like writing prose.
Yeah.
So it's writing dialogue and imagining stuff. And so, but even so, for me, it's like, okay, it's writing time. Here, get a cup of coffee, turn off the internet, close the door, put on the headphones. You can put on some music, but it has to be very soft, jazz or classical. Yeah. And then and then it takes 20 or 30 minutes to get into the zone. And then you're in the zone and you write. And that for me, that's the way it works. Now, writing is different. I think if you were creating, I don't know, if you're making music videos or if you're doing other creative endeavors like making, fashionable clothes, perhaps you could live in a tornado of crazy stuff and TikTok going on in the background all day and loud music and people talking to you and stuff. Maybe you could do that. I would certainly say for writing, it would be virtually impossible to do that.
Yeah, I could see that. Do you actually start going and you're almost more just freestyle until you latch onto something and then it fulfills, or do you actually wait till you have a theme and start building off that theme? Some people just go spaghetti or just go until they hit something.
No, there's different. I mean, there's different types of writing too.
Yeah.
There's writing Space 1972. I know what I'm supposed to write. I mean, I know what I'm doing today. I'm doing this scene. I'm doing these next 3 scenes.
Is that storyboarded still, even though there is no visual element to it?
But there's kind of I have kind of a rough outline that I work from. But making up the outline, the more you have to make up stuff, the harder it is. And so, like, the hardest part of Space 1972 and everything I've done is when you're making it up from scratch and you don't even know where you're starting with. All I have is the title.
Right.
And then you're making it up. Now, that's also the hardest thing about any kind of, at least TV writing for me, was like, The Simpsons, when you're on The Simpsons, okay, well, you got the characters already. Yep. You got the world. You got the whatever. It makes it a little easier. It's still very hard to write those.
You're writing to
but
who they are, right?
If you're starting from scratch, if you're writing a book, and you're like, going to sit down, I'm going to write a book, I have no idea what it's about. That's hard. And I'd say for that kind of writing, I can't sit at the desk for that. I have to go for a walk.
Yeah.
Because the desk, there's nothing to type. What are you supposed to do? You can type random stuff, but that's not helpful. I go walk around and kind of like daydream. And then once I get something that's worth writing, then I sit down. But the more you don't know what you're working with, the harder it is, and the more extreme concentration it requires, at least for me.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. So 2 things. One, you mentioned Stephen King, who I'm sure tons of people just gush over and love. He's got such a body of work. What's your favorite, just randomly, what's in the mood you're in the moment? If you could call out one, it's always hard to say what's your favorite, but what pops to mind when you go, what is the favorite Stephen King book that you really just
it's probably The Shining. The Shining, I read that when I was like 12, and I still remember it vividly. And I haven't read a lot. He's written 150 books or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, my favorite book that he ever wrote is on writing, which is his book, which is about writing.
About till now.
Which it's for every writer should read this book. It's the most remarkable book, and it explains his process. And it's like he knows how to write.
Yeah.
Because he's the most prolific writer of the century, probably.
Yeah.
And so his techniques are very valuable, and it just saves you a lot of. I didn't read that book till I was like 42 years old, though, and so before that, I was using a lot of. I was naively still like, I could write at the coffee shop, and never did anything.
Wow. Mine is the Bachman books, because it's just a vague one, right? And inside that, I think isn't it Shawshank is in Bachman. So there's a couple. He also, I think he wrote The Running Man that nobody knew about. Like, that was one of his early short stories. Wow. And so you have 1969 and 1974. Was that right? 74. I want to make sure. Two. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
And I'm sure everybody's going to wonder what's the time gap and what happened that time. That's why they read the book.
Listen to the book. Listen to the radio show.
There you go. Yes. And then. Well, last question. We'll get on some roadshow stuff. But do you have renderings of what your characters look like as you write to them? Have you like made excuse the language, zap, because I don't know the characters in your thing? Like, do you know?
I know. Well, first of all, they made it. Well, I know what they look like because they're all real people, except for Natasha Lyonne's character is there's a few fictional people, but I know what they look like in my head. Yes, because they're the actor or actress who plays this role. Like there's, first of all, Natasha Lyonne plays herself essentially, but then there's like, this guy was in this guy was in Rosemary's Baby. He's that guy. And there's I cast it in my head, and then but also about 60% of the people in these stories are real people. It's Kennedy, it's Nixon, it's Walter Cronkite, et cetera, things like that.
Wow. And there's so much else about this book, but everybody find it on Audible. We could spend a lot of time talking about this. The creative process fascinates me. Like, how do you get from zero to something and do it amazingly well and have, strong character development that people you actually care about, Are there any Nibelonians type irascible aliens? Kif Krokers.
No, there are several jokes in this series about how there are no aliens, and aliens would make it stupid. So and the characters are very aware of how stupid it would be if aliens were in this thing, and there's several jokes about that actually in the show.
I love that. Well, awesome. So let's talk about kind of this other part of your life that is very present. You're a food guy, but you're not you're not a gourmand by definition. You are the complete and polar opposite, and I love that about you, right? But you do tie delicious, amazing cuisine to something that's regional and special. Tell us a little bit about the roadshow, the dining
Yes,
experiences
well,
that you're creating, and really, tell us a little bit about that.
this is a background that people, for people who don't know this, I've always
Yeah.
been very interested in food, and I guess people have called it variously, like elevated, elevated comfort food,
Yeah.
the common man's food, things like that that I deal with in most parts. Now,
I've
that's
seen
not
you
to say that
described
I
as a
don't
snack
like
food
fancy food.
critic before.
I
Right?
do like fancy food,
Yeah.
and I will go to a fancy restaurant generally if someone else is paying, and I will enjoy it. And I have been to a number of fancy restaurants, and I have friends who are James Beard award-winning chefs and so forth.
Yeah.
But now I'd rather, but honestly, I'd probably rather have the world's best hot dog or
You like a
the
good
most
greasy
incredible
spoon?
Italian beef sandwich or whatever. That's the kind of thing that I am into. And I started I've always been like this, always been very interested in food. And about 7 years ago, I started doing a food Instagram, which is that Bill Oakley.
Yeah.
Still doing it today. And it kind of got me into this space. And I started out mainly just doing fast food. And then I expanded into other things, like as I said, comfort food, cooking, all sorts of stuff. But it's all in that same vein of
Yeah.
food, that I like to eat, which is essentially, I don't know, American food. So I've done a lot of other things over the years that are related to food. As you know, I'm on the Late Night Restaurant Show. I'm also a regular panelist on the show The Food That Built America on the History Channel, and I've been on that for several seasons now. And so people who watch that show, it's an incredibly popular show, and they rerun it all the time. So people recognize me now from that. I do that. I also have a number of other food-related pursuits, and what you're talking about is my Ticketed Dinner series.
Yeah.
Now, this Ticketed Dinner series came out of my brain last year because I was doing a lot of traveling. My partner, Josh Weinstein, when I talk about my partner, Josh Weinstein and I were the guys, we worked on The Simpsons together. We ran The Simpsons together, and then we had a show after The Simpsons called Mission Hill, which you see up there. There's a show, there's a cell for it. Mission Hill was our labor of love, and it was on the WB network, which nobody remembers anymore. It was an animated show about young people in their 20s that was actually, to brag a little bit, it was a brilliantly written show, but it was not right for that network, and it got canceled immediately. Then Adult Swim picked it up when Adult Swim was just beginning and ran those 13 episodes over and over and over for years. And then, so what happened is a fan base developed for the show, but you can't see the show anywhere on any streaming service. It's lost media, right? So for the 25th anniversary of the show, we were showing it in movie theaters. We had a producer a tour producer, basically producing a tour, and Josh and I went to like 25 cities last year and showed it in movie theaters to fans. Now, when I was in these cities, and I went to cities, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, cities of that nature, Dallas, San Francisco, all over the country. And when I went to these cities, every time I was like, what food can I have here that I can't get anywhere else? I want the best food, and generally American food. So I would go. So, for instance, in Pittsburgh, I wanted Ohio Valley style pizza. Ohio Valley style pizza is this weird type of pizza where
Isn't
they
it
cook
cold?
the crust. Yes, the crust and the tomato sauce are baked, but the cheese is cold and the toppings are cold.
That's heresy.
And it's sold in this kind of a belt between like Youngstown, Ohio, and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So I went and got that Pittsburgh, and I actually thought it was delicious. I thought it's not. You wouldn't really call it pizza. People compare it more to Lunchables, but I
Like
mean it's
pizza
very popular
gazpacho.
there. It's delicious food. So
Yeah.
I had a lot of foods like this on my various travels, and I was like, I come back home and then I'm like, well, how come I can't get these foods? I mean, you can get like in town, you can get, people know Chicago style hot dogs. I can get some of those. I can get Detroit pizza, but there's hundreds of other local foods that you can't get anywhere that outside of the small region where they're made.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, what if we had a dinner? What if we had a kind of a ticketed dinner event where people got to sample these foods? And also because these foods make a lot of time on the internet.
Yeah.
There are also people like every time, for instance, Altoona style pizza shows up on the internet, on Twitter or whatever,
What is an
people go
Altoona style
bananas.
Pizza? Sorry,
It's this incredibly weird pizza that's only sold in Altoona, Pennsylvania. That's got a Sicilian crust,
Okay.
but it has American cheese. It has a slice of salami and a slice of green pepper, like sliced the long way. And it looks really weird, and people all go berserk. And it comes up every couple every month on Twitter or whatnot, and everyone goes berserk. And there's lots of those foods, and so I'm like, I can't try. I want to try that without having to go to Altoona. So anyway, I was like, I started thinking about this thing. I was like, I partnered with a local restaurant here that I've worked with in the past.
And that's up in Portland?
Yes, I live in Portland. A restaurant called JoJo, which started out as a food cart, but is a mecca of things like, fried chicken sandwiches, unusual burgers, things of that nature, and they're very experimental. And they cook this, and they make this stuff so good. Now they have a brick and mortar restaurant. So I partnered with JoJo, and I said, let's do this event, and it will be a secret menu, 7-course menu of these dishes that are all unusual, that most people, that aren't sold in this town at all, that most people have never even heard of, let alone tried. And I will give a funny talk while we do this, and we'll have a slideshow, and I'll talk about the history of these dishes. I'll also tell some Simpsons. You have to bow to the Simpsons fans. Told some Simpsons jokes, Simpsons behind the scenes stories as well, but also talk about the history of these unusual items. And the dinner was a huge hit, and we sold out all the tickets in a few hours. At a second night, sold out those tickets in another couple of hours, and the dinner, everybody loved it, and I'm grateful to everyone who attended, and to JoJo for pulling it off. They really took the food seriously, and they really worked hard to make this is the ultimate. These are perfect versions of the foods. I won't say but we didn't have a pizza oven, so we didn't do Altoona pizza, but we did a lot. We did 7 other things, and it was a very fun evening. So on the heels of that, I ended up getting a sponsor for these dinners,
right?
Which is Butcher Box. Many people are familiar with Butcher Box, and they are sponsoring the dinners, and I'm doing them in cities all over the country. In fact, if anybody listening to this happens to own a restaurant and wants to partner on one of these, we have a certain deal that of the ticket sales and so forth, and then the restaurant gets 100% of the alcohol sales and so forth. And so basically, what I try to do is I go to a restaurant where that would normally be mostly empty that night, and get it loaded up, get a lot of people buying liquor, and they can make special cocktails or whatever that are also regional cocktails or Simpsons inspired cocktails. Sell a lot of fill up a place that would normally be empty, and allow them to experiment with this menu.
Yeah, and
it'll be fun. People in town will come over, and we'll have this slideshow. Anyway, so I've already set it up in just over the past month. I've set it up in about 12 cities. But I'm looking for more, and I'm also looking for places. We have a variety of places that are doing it. Some are more elevated, some are with renowned chefs who are going to make it a little more special, and many of them are kind of like brew pub style places that serve this kind of food already, but not these dishes. So that's the kind of thing. If people follow me on Instagram, you will find out about it. I'm also starting a mailing list because Instagram is very annoying these days. I can get into that later if you want. The algorithm, they're trying to turn it into TikTok.
Oh, Lord.
Meaning you don't see so much stuff from people you follow as you do just see stuff that is going to keep you glued to it from other randos. And so, anyway, I am now, if you follow my social media or whatever, on any site, I will be publicizing these events or get on my mailing list.
There's a lot to unpack there. So
yeah, I know.
No, but I think I got some good notes on this too. So one, how many of these events have you done so far? Is the ones that you mentioned, and then the other 11 that you have set up, those are now.
We've only done the 2 in Portland, and and the other ones. The next one is going to be San Diego in the first week of May, and then there's going to be among these other ones, there's going to be Cincinnati, Omaha, Chicago, Atlanta, Lexington, Kentucky. There are other ones. They're all in various stages of gelling.
And then Chicago, because I believe we're going to be in the same city at that time. Are you planning one in tandem with the National Restaurant
It will not be
show?
At that time because we don't have the time to get it set up at that point. And also my schedule is booked to the wall to wall during that event too.
Got it. Okay. So I got a couple questions that have just been building up for a little while here. I imagine there's something really interesting living in your fridge. Hopefully not living, but when I was riffing with Jay before, and I'm like, Bill, I bet Bill has a lot of pickled food in his fridge. I bet he's got a wall of pickled things, and I would really love to know what populates your fridge.
I was actually just about to make a video about this today. I realized I get a lot of, my wife gives me shit about, and I have to clean it. Now I have a work fridge. So right here to my left is a work fridge that has, it has pickles. It has some unusual sodas. It has some kombuchas that I have been given and so forth. Then in the basement, I have a freezer, which has a whole bunch of frozen pizzas and also all that frozen soup that Campbell's gave me after I posted that thing. Then in the regular refrigerator, I don't have too much in the regular refrigerator because it has to be a family refrigerator. So I have all my normal stuff like
Right.
my various mayonnaises and things, and a few sauces and things like that. But I don't have a huge amount of that kind of stuff in there. And then I also have which is more like it's more like a mountain. It's more like a big pile in the hall, in the foyer out here. I have a table that is piled very, very high with dry goods. Potato chips, mostly potato chips, but also other peanuts and cheese curls and things that I have of all of everything. And I don't even eat this. Like I don't even eat. The
Are these
reason
all
that I
trade
don't.
show gift remnants?
No,
you
no,
wanna
no.
bring
These are
home,
ones
or-
people mail me. Like
Oh wow.
people, part of what my Instagram is
Yeah.
that I'm always reviewing food from all over the
Yeah,
place, and people mail me food. They a lot. Not companies mail me food, but also civilians who are like, you got to try these potato chips we have here that you've never tried, and I'm delighted to try them. And so I get food from people all over the place that I love to try. Now I also don't like. I have to manage this because I don't want to weigh 300 pounds.
Yeah.
So 500 pounds.
Is there
I'm
a
probably
charity
close
you
to 300
donate
pounds already.
access to? Like I imagine things are showing up in bulk at this point.
I don't. Well, no. I just try to keep it. I try to parcel out. I don't eat health. I eat healthy.
Yeah.
I eat very healthy until 8 p.m. and then I go nuts. and that's what happens. But as far as pickles, let's see what I have here. I do have some pickles. I have these incredibly.
Yeah, I figured you'd have
my
pickled
work fridge here.
asparagus, some kind of pickled vegetables,
do.
some kimchi alternatives. I just imagine
don't
it's very
have
elaborate.
here are the good ones. I have a whole bunch of Canadian
Yeah.
mustards. That I got. Okay, these are the good ones. Wait. So first of all, I do have a whole bunch of mustards in here from Kozlik's, of a Canadian. You know Kozlik's?
I think you actually mentioned to us before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kozlik's is a Canadian company that makes these very good mustards. So they sent me. So I posted about them when I saw them at the Fancy Food Show. in Las Vegas.
That's right.
And they sent me a case of their various mustards. They're just so good. The maple one, I've never had a maple mustard before.
A
Amazing.
little savory, a little sweet.
Yes, yes.
I'm a big
So now here I
Dijon
have the
guy.
pickles. You have this is again from my work fridge.
Yeah.
I have two pickles now. I love this product from this place. I think it's in Kentucky. Pop's Pepper Patch. I've posted about these in the past, and they very graciously sent me a whole box of them.
Love it.
These pickles are so good.
Are they spicy, a dill, a
they're-
garlic?
Yes, they're habagardil pickles, which means habanero, garlic, and dill.
You just
all the
hit
same
all the
thing.
notes I just asked
Yes,
on one shot.
they're so good. Like I think the ultimate thing to put them on is with like a fried chicken sandwich,
Ooh.
where they're absolutely miraculous. But you could just
Yeah.
I eat them out of the jar. I put them on anything I can. Now also they make several different levels of spiciness of their pickles, and this one is insane. This one is made with, I think it's made with Carolina Reaper peppers. You can see
Jesus.
there. These are nightmarish, but
Punitive
I keep them here.
peppers.
They're made with Carolina Reapers.
Wow.
These are so agonizing, but I keep them and I eat like one every couple days just to test myself.
Yep.
Because each one is I'm not going to eat it now. They're regular. They're pickles like these
I would
other
almost
ones.
enjoy watching you eat
But
one
they're
now,
so
we'll
it's so painful. It's like putting a red hot imagine putting a quarter
Yeah.
in a blast furnace until it was red
and
hot,
then shoving that in your mouth.
and then put it on your tongue.
yeah, it's back to
That's
Homer
exactly
and
what
the
it's like.
insanity
And
pepper, right?
for at least a minute and a half afterwards, I'm just like, why did I do this? Why did I do this? But I keep doing it. I keep doing it every couple of days.
Did you write the insanity pepper? Was that your guys?
We didn't write the script, but it was our episode. I mean, Josh and I were the
Johnny
supervisors
Cash,
of that
Spirit
episode,
Animal. I mean, that was an
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. I directed Johnny Cash.
old chili pepper.
Yeah.
Oh, look, he's the Pope of Chili Town. He say he carved it from a larger spoon. Like just, oh, gold.
The thing I love from that episode is the thing I really love is Homer going. It's Homer discovering that Flanders' 5-alarm chili is only 2.5 stars tops, and then Rod saying, "Are you going to prison, Daddy?" Are
you going to prison, Daddy?
We'll see, son. We'll see. I just want to be a big
So
man in
much
front of
good
the kids.
stuff there. Quick question: Whiz or without? And if you don't know what that means, I'm going to lose.
Oh, I know what it
lose-
means.
lose respect
I
for
would
you.
say I like it with Whiz. I
Okay.
have. I mean, I went to. That was another place that I went to. I went to all those places in Philadelphia when I was there. That place in the market that has the
reading terminal
roast
market
pork
there?
sandwich. Yes, the
Yeah.
roast pork. I don't remember what it's. I keep forgetting the name of it. It's like Johnny's, but that's not it. The place where the roast pork and broccoli rib,
Yeah.
and I had to sit
Yeah.
like on a trash can and eat it because the place was so packed. And then I went to
It's fun seeing the Amish on cell phones too.
Yes.
The Mennonites, yes.
then I went and I solicited from people a lot of opinions about the most authentic chili, Philly cheesesteak,
Yeah.
and it did not come from any of the big name places.
It
People
wasn't
told me
Pat's or
no,
Dino's or
no.
Dino's, sorry.
Actually, most of those places had a lot of haters
Yes, they
who
do.
were like, those are the tourist traps."
Yep.
And they told me to go to Ishkabibbles.
Ishkabibble.
You know Ishkabibbles? Have you been there?
No. But I know
Okay.
the name. Why do I know Ishkabibble?
Because it used to be a comic, either comic character or like a funny character in the 30s or 40s.
Oh, that's right.
And it was I don't know
Little Orphan Annie or something, or
something like that, yeah. But it's kind of a small place, and I ordered it. Of course, I had it with whiz, and they also have this drink called the Gremlin, which is a combination of grape drink and lemonade, which is delicious. I never had it anywhere else. Anyway, yes, of course, I had it with whiz.
Okay. I was curious because I
No, I'm not going to do like a John Kerry and go have it with Swiss cheese.
So
Although I guess I'm curious what it would taste like.
well,
with,
but that's
with
not
Swiss
that's not
cheese.
the point though, right? You want it the way it's intended.
I
went
want
to
the
a-
authentic experience. Yes.
I went to a publisher's dinner, and I actually sat next to the governor of the Commonwealth at the time, and I'm a California guy, and I go, "Hey, what's the best cheesesteak in town?" And he goes, "Well, where you from?" I go, "What's that matter?" Well, it matters a lot. Where you're from? He goes, "California." He's like, "You're not going to like our best cheesesteak. It's got to be stringy and greasy, and it's going to be with whiz." And it's just
I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, I like a good greasy spoon. It's fun. It's different, you know.
Yeah.
I love that you said with whiz. Do you have any opinions on French onion soup?
I love French onion soup.
Who's got your best?
I
Or
I
top
don't know.
line again?
I can't have it. I can't. I don't know where to get it. I order it when I see it at restaurants, but I don't have a favorite place. Also it's too hard to make. I'd like to make it more, but it's too hard.
It's very laborious. You have to brown the bones if you're going to do it right. Make nice
Yeah.
bone stock. Yeah, that's
But I almost always order it if I see it on the menu.
and at home. So I just found out you're married. I didn't know that. I didn't dug into family. Who cooks at home? Is it you guys balance?
I
it?
do.
You do a little bit of it.
I do. Well, I don't do it all the time.
Yeah.
I think we have 3 kids, but fortunately, most of the kids are in college now.
Yeah.
So it's or older than that, or out of college. So I don't have to cook. I did have to cook, and this is one of the things that I've learned over the recent. I've learned how to cook over the past 10 years out of necessity. Because none of the kids like the same foods. It's very annoying, and they one kid doesn't like spicy food, and then one kid doesn't like fish, and one kid doesn't like this, and then so anyway. So I finally was like a few years ago. I was like, I'm going to order one of those meal kits, and I started ordering Blue Apron, which
Okay.
the food and the kids. I think I told you this in the other podcast. I don't want to repeat myself.
You meant, but partly you didn't go all the way down this road with it. You just mentioned a little bit about it. So I don't.
It was way too hard to make.
Yeah.
The food was popular, but those were way too hard. You have to mince all this garlic, and so anyway, I switched to Home Chef, which was not so hard, and they have and I've been using that for years. So, and I've also what my point here is that throughout having to make all those meals, I learned things like how to mince garlic, how to make a roux, and all this other junk. So I now can cook, and I do occasionally make recipe. Like sometimes I'm like Sunday, it's like I'm gonna make something complicated today,
Right.
and I find like a really complicated recipe for shrimp jambalaya, or Carolina pulled pork or whatever, and I make
Right.
and I spend like 8 hours
the
making a
letter.
cake or some
Right.
cakes, sometimes weird cakes, and I'm like I can follow a recipe. No matter how complicated it is,
Yeah.
generally, I mean, I couldn't make like a complicated. I can't do pastry; that's too hard. But most recipes I can make from scratch, and I cook it, and I do, and I enjoy it. Like I can make any recipe from the New York Times, for example.
Yeah.
I can cook, and I make it, but like, it's mainly just for me because often there's nobody else who wants to eat it.
I lived in Portland. I went to a culinary school up where you're at. We used to go to a place called the Gypsy. It was over just near by where the old Reinhardt's brewery used to be. It was the Western Culinary Institute turned Cordon Bleu later. Your town is a fantastic food town.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. And we're coming to time too. I want to be cognizant of how much I'm taking from you here that you're investing. Question I had for you coming into this, because I've been in our industry for 16 years now, meaning restaurant, hospitality, all out in this space, and I haven't heard of you in this area, right? And so you're emerging into the scene, at least from my layer of understanding, and
I'm glad to hear it. Finally, it took long
yeah,
enough.
but like there's when the phenomenon of the new word, you hear a new word, and then you hear it every day after that, right?
Yeah.
And it's everywhere, and you're starting to be everywhere, and I love that for you.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, so it's working. Whatever it is working. But why now? What is the genesis, or what happened or catalyzed over the last couple of years that you are now on the scene and arriving with some real force?
Well, part of it is that I finished that script, that 683-page script that was consuming all my time for the past 2.5 years. So I'm able to devote a lot more time to things like flying to Cincinnati to put on one of these dinners, and that type of thing. So that honestly, that has a lot to do with it. And also the fact that TV, honestly, the fact that TV has collapsed.
Yeah.
I'm not tied to my desk.
Yeah.
Or because when I was working in TV, whether at least from 2016 onwards, I was on Skype prior to Zoom, and stuff like that all day from Portland. So, I couldn't do anything else. And TV has been, for better or for worse, has been my career since 1991, and it's a very hard, time-consuming job.
Yeah.
For the most part. And since I got out of the TV business in about 2021, I have more time to devote to other things. Obviously, mainly the Audible thing, but also the other food pursuits that I can do in my spare time.
Yeah. And then there's the other piece, the Steamed Ham Society, right?
Yes. You can see that. Yeah. There's my Steamed Ham Society neon sign right there.
Yeah.
Which
light it up. Let's see it.
I don't leave it on because it strobes the video when it's on normally.
Yeah.
But yes, you see that?
Yeah.
So Steamed Ham Society.
Thank you, Seymour
it's a club.
Skinner. Yeah. So let's talk about let's talk a little bit about steamed hams and how people can participate in it and what it's about and this other part of your world.
Okay, I wrote a thing on The Simpsons back in the day that was a short comedy sketch that basically vanished for 20 years and then suddenly became the internet meme of the year
it
in
reminded
2018.
Me like a Bewitched episode, like the Darren Stevens' boss comes to
it's very
visit,
corny
right?
intentionally.
Yeah.
And that's, you actually see a little, that Chalmers thing is a painting that somebody made of that frame.
Oh, wow.
So it's well known. Most Simpsons fans and many people who don't know, it's one of those things like who's on first, a comedy thing, who's on first, or Dead Parrot,
right?
That's like, oh, okay, that's a comedy thing. And so I was like, I wrote that. It was it's the only thing I ever wrote by myself at The Simpsons. And it means hamburgers. Steamed hams means hamburgers. So I was like, this is a good way to leverage my way into the food world by using this, because people know what it is. And so I started this club called the Steamed Ham Society. And this is a club, it's a Patreon, where you pay $5 a month to be on this Discord server with me and hundreds of other people who want to talk about food all the time. And there used to be other levels, but it became too time consuming to have all these other things. So now it's a flat fee, $5 a month, and you're allowed into the Discord where people talk. And it's actually, I would say, it's the best source of food news in the world.
You hear that, everybody?
The people are first. The people are very devoted fans. Like, we got people who seem to consume every bit of fast food news in the world, and it's all on there. We also have people who are very avid professional cooks who share recipes. We have people who are like high-level gardeners, international travelers, and then also there's a whole section for local foods. Like, I'm going to Columbia, South Carolina. What should I eat there? And you're going to get a great answer when you post that kind of thing, And so that kind of thing, and plus there's channels for people who want to talk about Simpsons, people want to talk about politics and so forth. So I'm on there every day, and it is honestly, I used to read all these food blogs every day. Now I just read the server,
and they bring
people
the
have
news
posts.
to you,
Yes,
right?
it's all there.
Yeah.
So I stay very well informed, and it's a fun community to join.
Is it text only? Is it voice and video? I'm a Discorder myself.
It's only, we could do voice and video on Discord, but nobody is doing it yet.
You need a moderator for that kind of thing too, in case it got wacky. But
it's fun. Plus, we have a lot of people on there who are on there periodically who are like either fairly famous food online types, like Barry Enderwick from Sandwiches of History.
Oh, wow.
Jonathan Mays, who was the editor of Restaurant Business Magazine, and people like that are on there. Mike Harris, who was the head chef at McDonald's, they're not on there as much as I am, but they're on there as well. So it's a fun community for online food types.
I love that. All right, last question is, so you're doing these tours across the United States. You focus a lot on Americana. I think that encapsulates pretty well the essence of what you're trying to capture.
Yeah.
I know my friend up north is really eager to see if you're going to do a similar tour about the unknown dishes of Saskatoon. Or
Somebody actually, I would like to do that if we can get. Right now I was actually going to have one of these dinners in Toronto, but it was determined that it was not the time due to the international tensions that we're suffering.
Might be the thing we need.
So I know that's what I was saying too.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking of doing a Canadian dinner here, but also in I already several of our members on this Discord are Canadians and have already made excellent suggestions for an entire Canadian version of this meal.
Yeah.
Which I would love to do. Now, I personally haven't sampled any of these dishes, so I would have to do that.
Yeah.
But there are just as many, well, maybe not just as many, but there's at least probably 90 weird Canadian dishes that we could serve in this meal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would love to do it up there, and I love going to Canada.
Very cool.
And in fact, I thought I was supposed to go to the Calgary West, with Jay to his show.
You just got to keep up to it with him. He is a man on the move, but absolutely, just remind him. Yeah. Yeah, Bill, I mean, honestly, every time, I think it's been 3 times now, every time I run into you, I'm like, this is awesome. You're somebody that I can talk to.
It'll be exciting to see you at the restaurant show. I love the freaking restaurant show.
Yeah.
It's so fun there, and it's such an incredibly lavish circus of every type of food in the world. And that place is beautiful, that McCormick place right there on the lake. I love it.
It's hard to find a better food town than Chicago, really. Like,
I know. And then you go out, and then out after the show, I can eat anything I want everywhere.
Yeah. Last question. I lied. I said that I had the last question. Last question. Of the things that people send you, what is the most off-the-wall, wackiest thing that you like? And you actually ate it. Like, you looked at it and go, okay, I'm going to put that in my mouth and try it.
Well,
I think of your mind. I don't know if you can
I can only tell you. I can't really say I haven't had any. There's only one thing. There's only one thing I didn't eat. There's 2, but the one thing I did eat that was the best, and I told you this I think already, was a oyster farm in Alaska sent me 9 dozen oysters on a plane that I had to go to the airport to pick them up, and it was so good, and I had the best oysters I've ever had by a mile. Really? Yes, and it was great, and I gave a lot of them to my friends because I couldn't possibly eat that many. Yeah. But that was amazing. So that was the best thing I ever got. But only thing I've only not eaten one thing that I got, which was surströmming. Do you know surströmming?
No.
I believe it is either Swedish or Norwegian, and it's a fermented.
It that fish?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It is. It comes in a can.
Is it the shark?
No, that's Iceland. The rotted shark is Iceland. Yeah. Okay. This is another type of rotted fish.
Yeah, they love ammonia.
I don't know whether it's herring or whatever fish it is.
Yeah.
It comes in a can, and it's apparently the worst smelling food in the world. And a very generous person sent me a can of surströmming, and it was like everything I read about it, including what this person said, is like, now don't open this in your house. If you open it in the house, the only solution is to burn down the house. And it's like you can open it outside, but it may also make you vomit outside. You can only open it under water, in a bucket of water outside. And finally, after months, I was like, the can sat in the refrigerator until it got rusty, and I was like, this is just too much. No. I'm never going to eat this. And furthermore, now it's really old. And so I threw away the surströmming.
All right. So no surströmming. Have you been have you talked into trying balut yet?
Balut, I know what that is.
It is a Pinoy dish that is a fertilized,
fully fertilized. It's that fertilized egg. No, I have not had that.
Egg, yeah.
Yes, no, it's the egg with the little tiny baby chicken in it. Yes. And no, I have not had that, but I did know what it was. I was familiar with it when you reminded me. And I also haven't had that repulsive Sicilian cheese that's crawling with maggots.
Yeah, no.
That's another one of those
dishes. What about the coffee that has been taken care
I heard that was really good.
I heard it was really good,
I had a friend
who
tried that. Mike Reese from Simpsons. I don't like coffee enough to bother with that.
Yeah. I think there's a whole world of things that you haven't seen yet that I'm really excited to hear back about what you run into next. And let's keep it in mind for when we talk, because I like the weird stuff. I eat a lot of weird food. And that's one of the reasons I vibe on what you talk about, because it's not just, you don't have to have the best meal in the world. I'm sorry, the fanciest meal in the world. I can sit in a greasy spoon and be equally, if not more happy, eating a really well executed or maybe slightly greasy patty melt.
Oh yeah,
well executed.
For sure.
Right?
I can have fancy. I can like the fancy food too. Yeah. But it doesn't drive me as wild as a well executed patty melt.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Hey, Bill, thank you so much. And so, this has been Bill Oakley. If you are interested to learn more, find him on Discord with the Steam Ham Society. You can find him on LinkedIn. You can catch his traveling shows. And where's the best place to look up those schedules for the ticketed
Just
events?
everything. You should follow my Instagram, that Bill Oakley.
Instagram.
And then also, or simply go to BillOakley.com,
Yep.
where that stuff will be posted, and you can sign up for the mailing list, or you will be able to sign up for the mailing list, and then you will be fully informed of that, because the algorithm, being at the mercy of the algorithm, is annoying, and that's why I prefer to inform people more directly of my of my endeavors.
It sounds like the algorithm could actually be a character in an upcoming piece of content
Yeah.
you write about, almost like
Yes, you're right.
the Matrix had the guy, the architect or whatever. The algorithm could
Yeah.
be a character.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, Bill, thank you so much, man. We're going to see you in Chicago in May. We're going to be doing a podcast with Jay Ashton and Bill Oakley, and I believe Dominic Padula will have a podcast table there at the National Restaurant Show, so you'll be able to hear and see us there. Please keep an eye out for Bill in the industry. He is probably one of the most exciting people on the scene, just due to the fact he's on brand for what I love, which is different. I absolutely love different. You own it. You're authentic. And I can't wait for the opportunity to sit in the room and enjoy the food and hear the stories. So you got to let me know. I'll make sure I'm on the list too, because I'll fly for your next one, or wherever I can go. I want to be there. So we're
Fantastic.
big fans of what you do. So thank you so much, Bill Oakley, for being you, and thank you for being on the show today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.